Hello and welcome to the Typical Boro Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Steve Dixon. Bit strange today, we're doing the podcast on a Tuesday, a wet, horrible, rainy Tuesday. However, it's a glorious, glorious Tuesday for Middlesbrough fans because last night, Middlesbrough went to Bramall Lane, won 2-1 and went top of the Championship. We've got loads to get through on the podcast, but to get me through the podcast, as always, I have Mr. Graham Bandera. You all right, Graham?
All right, yeah. Happy lunchtime.
And we have a substitute for John Cutler, who's unfortunately stuck at work. We have back on the podcast, Mr. Simon Blower. You all right, Simon?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me on again, lads.
You all right,
Good timing. Great timing to come on, Simon. Great timing to come on.
Oh, yes.
Middlesbrough 2, Sheffield United 1. Tommy Conway in 19 minutes, Riley McGree 45 minutes. Was enough to get Boro over the line. Patrick Bamford, boo, with a consolation goal for Sheffield United on 73. Middlesbrough were unchanged at Bramall Lane. The team was Bryn, Targett, Malanda, Ayling and Britton as the back four. The midfield, Hackney, Morris and Brown, and McGree and Whittaker flanking Tommy Conway. Before the game, Simon, a little bit of Chris Wilder mind games, shall we say. Patrick Bamford was out for 3 weeks. Teams come out. Patrick Bamford's fit in the team, ready to go against Middlesbrough. Has-beens Joe Rothwell and Calvin Phillips made the bench for Sheffield United. All the talk about the superstars that they've signed made the bench. I come to you, Simon. Team news. Is that Middlesbrough's strongest and best 11?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't think he'd change it. Maybe we might have been tempted to change shape. But yeah, he's found a way, which I think it's a while since I've been on the pod, to get Brown, Morris and Hackney all working in a team together. And I think that's been absolutely pivotal to the last sort of run of 6 games, really. So yeah, for me, definitely our strongest 11. Got rid of a few of the project players, as I call them. I think he's just picking our know-how players, very similar to Karanka did, really, the players that you can trust to give at minimum 7 out of 10 every week. So yeah, for me, definitely our strongest 11.
Yeah, I mean, going back a couple of months ago, Simon, we probably wouldn't have been having Alan Brown in the team as your strongest 11, but he's just been fantastic now, and he's almost one of the most important parts of the side and the tactics around Kim Hellberg's strongest 11, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he seems to be the player that moves the most in terms of his positions throughout the game. We seem to have got that platform. We've got Morris sat, Hackney tending to drift a bit more to the left. Brown almost playing everywhere along that right-hand side. But at points yesterday, he ended up as almost a 9-10 with Whittaker really wide of him. I'd love to sit in on a meeting with Hellberg and Brown to discuss his role within the team and what dictates where he goes. Is it the player on the pitch? Is it the open space? Is it covering for people? His heat map must be incredible because he just moves, as you say. Even when you name the formation there isn't really a formation, as Bandy said on this pod many times before. It's just a set of 11 players, but he's key in terms of his movement. He is all over. He's been fantastic.
You just mentioned there about the tactics and the movement. We haven't really got a set formation, Simon, and I think that's really catching managers out this season. Kim Hellberg with his tactics, they're not really sure how Middlesbrough are going to set up. And, you can see managers on the touchline talking to their coaches and trying to get what Middlesbrough are doing now, because we're so we just change all the time during the game with formation to a back 5, to a back 4, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. We just change throughout the game. And I think, again, before we get into it, I think that caught Chris Wilder out last night as well a little bit.
Definitely, yeah. Well, when he first come in, if you look, he was playing a 4-2-2-2. He's playing very, very narrow through the central part of the pitch. We still do that to a degree, but obviously he's putting 3 across now. Like Si correctly points out, ensuring Alan Brown is on the pitch because he can play absolutely anywhere. He's a phenomenal little footballer. He is brilliant. He's been pivotal to this fantastic run we've been on, 6 straight wins. But yeah, back to the systems. He does change them quite quickly in games. Players are adaptable. They know what they need to do when we need to change positions quickly. And it is outfoxing managers. Wilder alluded to it last night in his presser that we played a box, in effect, in the centre of the park. But we also had players bombing wide as well when Britain can get forward and Target can get forward at any opportunity. But Tommy's obviously that left-sided player who can pull away as well. So, yeah, movement everywhere. And, oh, God, it's just so good to watch.
We'll get it. Go on,
sorry,
Simon. Go on, Simon. You're right.
I think that's probably something Hellberg's learned, that run of 4 games where we didn't win. I think he's worked out the managers had almost worked out his tactics in his first 4 games. And, you know, maybe it was a little bit new, but how prepared other teams had come to play against the 4-2-2-2. So I think what we've seen in the last few games is I want our team to go out there and people not know how we're going to play. That's almost our, you know, Wilder, as you said, Bandy alluded to it in his interview, they'd obviously prepared for a set way of playing with the 11 players on the pitch. And we were completely different. So I think that's him learning a little bit about the Championship as well.
I think what's telling now is every player that's playing now in a team pretty much that picks itself, in my opinion, they're all playing in their familiar positions. So I'm definitely 100% that he's had dialogue with players and said, look, how can we get the best out of you? Where do you want to play? And we'll try and utilise you in that position. And every player, if you're playing somewhere where you're comfortable, if you're comfortable in a job, you're going to perform. You're going to enjoy it. You're gonna flourish. So that's what's happening now with the players that we've got at his disposal. Absolutely brilliant. And when subs come on, even they know their roles. You're not just chucking anybody on and hoping that something happens. They're coming on to do a specific duty, and it's working brilliantly.
Before the game, Graham, I was texting Simon and we're talking about what we thought how the game would go. And Simon was really worried about the game. He had a few nerves in his stomach, and he was worried about Sheffield United. He's worried about Sheffield United. I was the other way. I'm really confident in this Middlesbrough side. I feel the same way about this side as I did under Aitor Karanka, where I feel we've got a real team full of leaders. We've got a good back four, strong back four, a safe pair of hands in goal, and we're capable now, for the first time in years, of going to these places like Sheffield United or like Coventry next week, in beating them and winning. And I think teams struggle against Middlesbrough now, and what we've just discussed regarding the formation. So we've got lots of strings to a bow. And I thought last night before the game, Arblaster and Peck in the midfield for them, or whether they're going to, roll the dice and throw Calvin Phillips in or Rothwell, which was unlikely because of the lack of game time. I thought Middlesbrough would run the midfield. I was confident that Brown and Hackney and Morris would get about them, and on the turnover, we would be too good for Sheffield United. And I think I said to Simon, I fancy Middlesbrough to win 3-1. It wasn't 3-1, it was 2-1. But the game sort of went the way I thought it would. And it was, I'll come to you, Graham, on the first half. I thought if Middlesbrough can just keep it tight for the first 15 minutes and not concede and ride that little bit of a wave, because Sheffield United were always going to come up and have a go the first 15 minutes, I was confident Middlesbrough could take that game by the scruff of the neck.
Absolutely. I was confident as well. I mean, you asked me last week regarding Sheffield United and Coventry, and I was pretty confident, quietly confident, that we would go to Sheffield United and take the game to them, and we did. That was a massive statement win last night. We showed signs of it at West Brom. We went there and won, and that's a tough place to go because they were in half-decent form. They turned things around a little bit, and we went there and won, last-minute goal by Bergzorg. But yesterday, I had no doubts that we would take the game to them at some point. But you're right, in terms of them coming at us, they were quick out the traps. Wilder's is a good motivator. He gets players going. He'll have had them fired up in that dressing room, desperate to get out there, get wired into us and make it tricky, make it difficult, stop us playing. But once we weathered that storm, 10, 15 minutes, Bryn made a couple of good saves, cleared a few corners. It was pressure. They were a good team. We beat a very, very good side last night. They'll be great next season. Once you get them clicking, they'll be very, very good. But we were excellent. We were absolutely sublime last night, and we blew them away. And you're right, Dicko, that midfield battle won us the game. We're pretty much playing a 3v2. You'd said about City Peck, and they're just coming back from injuries, so they hadn't quite found their feet yet, but we absolutely muscled that midfield. Having the extra man in Brown, I think that's probably why he is there. So Morris can sit in, he can chip away at players, steal the ball from them, give it Hackney. Hackney can drive through, slalom past players. But Morris is just picking up every single scrap that's available to him, and he's getting the attacks going for us. So yeah, I think the game last night was won in midfield. And we've seen situations in the game where we've had to dig deep defensively as well and pull out all the stops. As I mentioned, Bryn, a couple of great saves, saved one with his feet late on as well. Malander, Aylin, Britton, Target, all fantastic. I mean, you could eulogise about that performance all night. It was class. I just want to mention that these performances are now getting highlighted in the media by, big players. Merson, it was brilliant to watch him last night. Use the word again, eulogise about us. He said he couldn't believe how good we were and how quick we moved the ball. Speaking about that first goal we got, it was exquisite, really. The whole of the studio were just in raptures about us. McAnuff, Broughton, and Michael Brown, who was a good player himself. He'll know what it's all about, winning midfield battles. So brilliant to see us get the plaudits, but I prefer us to just quietly slip under the radar still, if I'm honest.
I think Merson said it was the best first half of football he'd seen all season. That was high praise and deal.
Yeah, he said if that was a Premier League team scoring a goal of that quality, that no one would be shutting up about it. So, yeah, says its own story. Because I love Paul Merson. I thought he was a fantastic player for us. Bit of a purist. I just love players with, technical ability, exquisite skill. And for him to highlight how good we played last night, it must have sort of pricked his conscience a little bit. Brilliant.
Just to go off piste a little bit on Paul Merson, I found out last week that he was a Chelsea fan, and I thought 100% he was Arsenal all his life. He was Arsenal. Never. So I learned something last week by listening to a different podcast that he's Chelsea through and through, which absolutely threw me. But anyway, Simon, going to come to you. Key moment in the game was the first goal, I thought, and my favourite, Tommy Conway, got it. My thoughts on Tommy Conway this season has been well documented on here, but he's now doing, I'm going to give him some praise, he's now doing exactly what I want him to do, which is be in the box and having shots and getting, and scoring goals. Now, if I'm being honest with you, his overall performance last night, work rate and all that, you're always going to get that with TC. But, he had a great chance early on where he should have hit it across the goalkeeper and he probably scores. He blazes it wide of the goal. Awful effort. Second half, he had an air shot, which was like off the Benny Hill show. Comical effort in the box and he missed it. However, he did score an excellent goal. I thought he took too many touches. I thought he took it one touch too many. But he just steadied himself, hit it across the keeper. Excellent finish through the legs of the defender. Puts Boro 1-0 up. And I can forgive Tommy Conway missing chances as long as he's in the box and shooting a goal like a centre-forward does. You're not going to score all your chances, but if you're in the box, you're going to get more chances, and more often than not, the more chances you get, the more shots you have on goal, the more likely you are to score. And last night, Tommy Conway was in the box more than he's been for quite some time, and it was good to see, because that's all I want from your centre-forward. Be in the box when the chances come, make the keeper work, and score goals. So well done to Tommy Conway. If you keep doing that from now to the end of the season, you'll definitely make double figures and have a respectable total by the end of the season.
Having Riley back suggests to me that he doesn't need to wander on that left side. You've got that insurance policy now with McGree on that left, who can play anywhere along that left-hand side. So, yeah, we'll probably find out that he's in the box a lot more over the next few games. You're on about him delivering in the box. He's also delivering the beds, don't forget.
So it was a great goal, and it's interesting, obviously, listening to the pod over the last few months. For my 2 pennies worth, I think you're both correct on Tommy. I think, and certainly Cuts as well. He's been undroppable because there's nobody to replace him. Could he do better? Absolutely. I think we saw the best and worst, as you said, of him last night, Dicko. Actually, my bigger frustration with him last night was the one where he should have pulled it back to Hackney, and he was a little bit too greedy.
Yeah. Hackney went mental with him.
Rightly so.
Yeah,
rightly
absolutely.
So,
I'd have dug him out as well.
But he's been pivotal to the last 6 wins. Again, going back to conversations with the manager, it's very clear to me that he said, play between the 18-yard box, don't drift as much. You don't have to close the goalkeeper down every time the goalkeeper's got the ball. Think carefully about your runs. And actually, there was one first half where I've talked a lot about gambling front post, and he gambled front post, just got a nick, and actually it dragged wide of the left-hand post. But that's the run I want to see him making. It's brilliant. But it was as somebody that coaches and loves football, that first goal was rightly so purring over it. As Merson said, if a Premier League team scores that goal, they'd be watching it time and time again. And I think what was nice, the reason we got so much media attention, playing on a Monday night when there's no other games of football, the vast majority of people are sat at home going, oh, what's on the box? And, we'll give Middlesbrough a bit of a watch. And I've seen on my Twitter feed, Man United fans watching
I know,
Borough game,
yeah.
and I'm going to do an analysis of Hellberg, and definitely our media spotlight will rise on the back of it, being a Monday night game and obviously hitting the league. And dare we say it, some people like to see Frank Lampard fail. So again, I think we've probably got the neutral fan behind him as well at the moment. But yeah, it was a great goal, really good game.
Was, yeah. After that, Bandy, 2 key moments for me. Obviously, I'm going to come to the goalkeeper, Sol Bryn. I thought Sol was excellent last night. One of his best games of the season. Cool, composed under pressure. Again, what I keep going on about, catches the ball when it's there to be caught, doesn't flap at crosses. He comes and gets the ball, and it takes all the weight off his defenders' shoulders. Brilliant last night. But the big save he made from Gustavo Hamer, took down to his left-hand side to turn that round the post. That was Premier League quality. It was a brilliant, brilliant save. And that was as important last night as anything else in the game. The 2 goals, whatever, that was key because that kept the score at 1-0. And of course, the other key moment, which I'll come to you, Graham, was the second goal. Riley McGree, you know, he had it in his locker all night at Hackney. He was driving again from the midfield, getting in behind. He was having shots. He had one just before then. He had a shot at the near post and nearly caught the goalkeeper out, just clipped into the side netting. He got his eye, got his range right. Let's fly. Smashes off the post with a slight deflection, comes back up, and there's Riley McGree doing what all good box-to-box midfielders should do, follow in on the shot, gets his head on it, puts the game 2-0, and in that moment, I was confident we were going to win the game.
Yeah. Again, I think that's something the manager's probably spoken about in terms of getting shots off and making sure you do your follow-ups, because Riley was Johnny on the spot there, wasn't he? Lovely. All he had to do was just cushion it in, but it was all about Hackney in the central midfield area. Bobbling ball, wins it, aggressive with it, pushes his man off the ball, gets forward, sees the opportunity to shoot, pings one from 20 yards and comes right out straight into Riley's path. So perfect goal, really. Like you say, he was unlucky just before that with a very, very similar shot from a similar position. So again, Hackney, we expect that level of performance from him now. Don't want to get too greedy, but that is Hackney's game. He enjoyed it last night, you could see. He's wanting the ball all the time. Morris doing all the dirty work for him, digging around, chipping away, and then as soon as Hackney gets it, he almost has the freedom of the park to do what he wants. I said last against Norwich, he looked like a Champions League player. Well, he looked like a seasoned international last night. I know I like an exaggeration now and again, but he is going to the very top, I'm telling you now. Whether it's with us, I don't know, but he will be 30, 40 England caps by the end of his career, no problem whatsoever. Class act. And a class guy as well. His attitude side is absolutely bob on.
I think going back to what you said earlier about changing positions, I think what's been brilliant, I think we had a debate early in the season when we were trying to stick him as a 10 or a bit out wide because we could see that attacking instinct. What I think he said to Hellberg is, I want to attack, but I want to come from deep. And as you said, it's the difference between playing as a 10 and an 8 driving forward. And he looks stronger. I think they mentioned it last night in the company, that bounce pass, as they call it. If you play with any of the young lads like Harry, Bandy's son, they always say bounce, bounce. And that's what they do. They want the ball straight back. But he plays that bounce pass, as you call it.
That's how we play.
So well.
We're bounce passing all over the park, aren't we?
Yeah.
The touch last night from our midfield players was just phenomenal. 1-2 touch, just so quick. No team can live with us when we play like that. Going back to the first goal, Ayling, first thought is to get that ball forward, zips it into Whittaker. Whittaker doesn't even hold it up, just flicks it around the corner. Riley takes it on his back foot, switches play quickly through the legs. Tommy, great finish. Like you say, he might have left it too late, but he didn't. He got it.
The midfielders are full of confidence, Graham, and you can see. You mentioned Ayling, and I'll mention Malander as well. Malander at the back, he's happy to fizz the ball into the midfield now because he knows it's going to stick, whether it's with Hackney. Morris, a funny moment last night for me. Morris he's playing that well and he's so full of confidence. Did you see the moment when he got substituted and he's giving it me?
Yeah,
me. You're asking me to come off. You're joking.
You're asking the little general to leave the pitch.
He's like, you're joking. Are you sure it's me? You know, he's that confident in his own ability at the minute, and he's playing so well that he was actually staggered that Kim Hellberg had the nerve to take him off for a few minutes. But he was excellent again last night. Second half, Simon, wasn't as fluid as the first half. Again, Kim Hellberg shows another side of his game with the tactics to show things up. Gilbert come on, 67 minutes for Riley McGree. Dale Fry, David Strelitz come on for Whittaker and Conway. And later on, Sarmiento come on. 4 changes. Could have got a little bit nervy towards the end. Patrick Bamford, 73 minutes. Got a couple of yards on Malander. Good finish. Puts Sheffield United back in the game. But even then, I just from my point of view, I felt Middlesbrough was still quite comfortable in seeing the game out for the last sort of 15, 20 minutes.
That's probably a reason I've got less hair than you two. I was definitely slightly nervy the last 15 minutes, and probably why I was a bit nervy before the game. Just natural instinct, isn't it? But I agree that didn't put us under a huge they were a bit reliant on the long throw. Personally, I wasn't certain on the first sub, and it's probably something we can debate. I maybe would have brought Hackney on for McGree. I felt when we put ourselves in a bit of a hole by bringing Gilbert on, because then we had to bring Fry on, which then we meant we had to sacrifice one of Conway or Whittaker and lost all pace.
Sorry, Simon, who would you have brought on for McGree?
I would have at that stage brought Fry on and gone to the 5.
All right, you said Hackney. Sorry, you said Hackney.
Yeah, you did say Hackney. I'm thinking, hang on a minute.
Sorry. I would have brought Fry on when we took McGree off. It's clear McGree's not ready to play 90 minutes. It was inevitable they were going to go 2 up top and start whacking it long, and that Fry would have to come on at some point. I probably would have made that sub-1 substitute earlier. Hindsight's wonderful. And Fry's been brilliant, hasn't he, when he has come on. All the games he's come on. He's had a fair amount of criticism over the years, but he's been brilliant this season. When we've needed him, he's stepped up. But yeah, I think we lost a little bit of control of the game, didn't we? You know, we were whacking it up front and we weren't really holding on to it. Strelic didn't offer the same outlet that Whittaker and Conway were, so
just bring you up there, Simon, on Strelitz, because it frustrates me a little bit with David Strelitz, because I want to see David Strelitz get a little bit of a run in the team, not at Conway's expense, who's doing well, but I would like to see David Strelitz coming on a bit more in games when we're on the front foot. He always seems to come on when Middlesbrough went, right, we're shutting up shop, we're going to a back 5, we're bringing on Fry, and we're just chucking on Strelitz just for nuisance value, just to run up front on his own. You know, now that's not really his game. Strelitz needs people in and around him and runners going in behind him. And I feel a bit sorry for him now, because he's almost coming on as like a token effort, like just for some fresh legs. I'd like to see Strelitz getting, you know, a run of games or game time when Middlesbrough on the front foot and going at it, just to see more of him and what he can do and get some chances in front of goal. I feel like he's been a little bit hard done to of late, Strelitz, when he's coming on.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree, Dicko. I want to see the Strelitz that I watched at Hull City.
Yeah.
But circumstances dictate we're playing very, very well. He'll understand that he ain't going to start. Tommy's going to be that man in that middle of that 3.
Absolutely, yeah.
And, you know, fair play to him. If he knuckles down, he'll get an opportunity. You just don't know regarding injuries, suspensions. So he's just got to hang in there, take his chance when he gets it. But yeah, last night he was just ploughing a lone furrow up front, and I did feel a little bit sorry. He hasn't got that level of intensity to go and press. He was just sort of waiting for scraps. He'd probably been better off bringing Sarmiento on and just punting it long over the top just to get on the end of something and try and get a runaway. But yeah, going back to the substitution, I don't think it worked at that time in the game. It looks to me like the coaxing Riley gradually, get an hour in your lungs, Riley, and then we'll have a look at it at that situation. He's come off the last couple of times on 60 minutes. I think it was about 66, 67 last night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But when Gilbert come on, I think he's in unfamiliar territory there. I prefer him further back when he's got the ball at his feet. He can see more of the pitch to pick passes. The game's it's very intense. It's hostile in there, and I don't think that's his game. He doesn't tend to create too much space for himself on the ball, and he just gets a little bit windswept. Riley's just got that extra composure on the ball. Riley's seeing a pass before he's actually received the ball, whereas Gilbert, to me, is just a little bit more pedestrian, really. But you know, he's still got his uses, but probably further back into towards our defence, I would see Gilbert.
Simon, if you are nervous for the last 20 minutes, the nerves must have been eased when Joe Rothwell ploughed into an awful challenge on Alan Brown. That was an awful challenge, wasn't it? And a definite red card.
Yeah, definite red cards. I hate those tackles. You know when they know their sole intention is to stop the play, and you know it's a bit different from pulling a shirt. Well, I wish they'd pull those up a bit more often with red cards. I mean, they're really frustrating in games. It was the fact that the manager didn't even query it either. It was a terrible tackle, and probably frustration from him that he's not played much football and he's not started the game. He's come into it, wants to make a difference, but completely let his teammates down, didn't he? I'd be livid with him if I was one of the other Sheffield United players.
Yeah. So we'll move on from Sheffield United, as good as it was, and just to say a well done to the 2,800 Middlesbrough fans that made the trip last night. Made fantastic noise, and the scenes at the end with Kim Hellberg was great to see. So well done each and every one of you for travelling. But we're going to move on to talk briefly about, Simon, your thoughts on the transfer window now it's shut, and you, Graham. So transfer window is shut now. Joe Wildsmith, Sarmiento, Finn Munro, Leo Castledine are in through the door. Out is Kante to St Etienne. Bergzorg is on loan to Bristol City. Lucas Engel has gone to America to Salt Lake. And Sonny Finch has joined South Shields on loan. Out of 10, Simon, what was your mark out of 10 for Middlesbrough's transfer window?
Oh, gosh. Should have prepared me for this. 7, I'm going to say. 7 or 8. I think it's an interesting transfer window. Castledine and Munro are really interesting signings. In fact, a good friend of mine, Graham's a Huddersfield fan, and I met him in the pub the other night. We talked a lot, and he was like, as a championship signing, brilliant. But are you not thinking about being in the Premier League? And I think that must have been the balance in this transfer window. And I think that probably, we'll talk about the striker, but I imagine the plan 6 months ago for this window looked very different 2 or 3 weeks ago, because I think we probably had players on our radar that we were thinking about as being championship players, where the reality is there's a good chance we're going to be Premier League. Are the players that we sign going to be Premier League players next season? I'm not sure. Are they good enough to do a job for the remainder of this season? Absolutely. So I think with that in mind, I'd give it a 7 or an 8.
Graham, obviously the big talking point of the transfer window was Middlesbrough not bringing in another striker. What was your take on that? Or do you think Middlesbrough are going to regret not bringing another forward, or do you think, with hindsight, it was the right decision because Middlesbrough don't really want to go out there just wasting money on players that aren't particularly any better than what we have?
Back to your marks out of 10. For me, it's a solid 9. I was really, really happy with the transfer window. This ideology that we have to have a striker, I don't particularly see us playing with a striker. I've never seen a Hellberg team play with a striker. We're almost playing with a false 9. In reality, we're playing with 3 forward players, but I always find it hard to sort of pigeonhole a player into a specific position. That front 3, it's interchanging, and I think Hellberg's tried to get that message across. He's come out in the press, he's backed Tommy. He said he's not quite. I don't think he sees him as a striker. I just think he sees him as a busy, industrious forward who presses like hell and creates chances for us and creates chances for others by his movement. So a solid 9. I was pleased. I didn't see the desperation. I could get caught out with this because if Tommy gets injured next game, then we haven't got that dynamism up front. So that's why I'm not giving it a 10, to be honest, because there is a risk. But no, I was delighted, and I didn't see what the hysteria was, the need to go and get a striker, because proper strikers, if you want a solid 9 who's going to get you 25 goals a season, we're going to have to cough up 15, 20, 25 million for one of them, and we haven't got that. I think the players he's brought in who are going to be able deputies, particularly that left side. We've got Munro to come in, quality little player, much talked about if Target gets injured. Got Castledine to come in if Riley's not quite on it. We've seen flashes of Castledine already. He's got his assist in the home game against Preston, where we took the free kick. So I'm holding out hope for him. I think he's going to be a good one for us. So no, I'm delighted. I think we've got good cover in all areas of the pitch. There was a concern regarding Bryn, if Bryn got injured, but I just think Bryn's absolutely solid. He's a man mountain. There's shades of a young Schwarzer when I see Bryn, in terms of his stature, how composed he is. And the key thing for me with Bryn, if he does make a mistake, he doesn't let him bother him in the slightest. He just recovers and he makes a fantastic save to rectify what he's just done. So I don't see any problems. I'm absolutely delighted and I'm buzzing with the way we're ticking along. And it's ours to throw away.
I'm pretty much agree. I'm in agreement with both of you. And Would I have liked to have seen another striker come, another forward come in? Absolutely, I would have done. Maybe a loan from the Premier League, a young player that's got potential to come to Middlesbrough, just to have another option off the bench. Maybe I would have probably have liked to see something like that. I wasn't in the camp for Adam Armstrong. I know John Cutler on here loves Adam Armstrong and would have took him all day. Me personally, I wasn't in the camp on Adam Armstrong because I could see the problem in that if you do get to the Premier League, you then got Adam Armstrong who isn't good enough for the Premier League. You probably spent 10 to 15 million pounds on his wages and his contract and all the rest of it, and he's never going to be good enough. Now if Middlesbrough can get to the Premier League, we've got that extra funds to start bringing in a better quality of footballer. So it was a difficult one for the club, but I think touchwood, like what you both alluded to, if we keep Tommy Conway fit, you've got David Strelets, Calais Sen was back on the bench last night, he's back fit as another option. I think we probably can get away with it.
Yeah, I think just to say that you can definitely see both sides of it from the fans. I think that, they often say strengthen from a position of strength, and we're second, first in the league, so you can absolutely understand fans going, "Oh, one more signing might get us over the line," because they experienced that with Jordan Rhodes and the season before when we had Bamford and Vossen and we didn't strengthen and we lost out in the playoffs. So there's history that not strengthening led to us not going up, and strengthening led to us going up. But I'm with you on the Alan Armstrong one, Dicko. I think, again, going back to the point about are they Championship or are we planning for the future, I think it would have been unwise to spend 10 million on a player that I don't think is a Premier League player, is a very good Championship player. So, definitely a good case for both sides.
I think Southampton were trying it on with that deal. Absolutely. Trying to take our pants down because, we'd have been lumbered. I think the hierarchy can smell promotion now. I really do. And I think they're not going to be caught out anymore in terms of dealing with agents and getting fleeced.
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to give a little push to the Red Radio, which obviously we're on every Tuesday. The Red have got a live event before the Coventry game at the Stack. They had one for the Sheffield United game as well, and they're doing it again before the Coventry game with Davey lad, Dave Roberts will be there, Craig Hignett, Jimmy Lees. There'll be prize giveaways, before, during and after the game. I think, they've got all sorts going on down the Stack at Middlesbrough. So if you're not going to Coventry and you fancy a match day experience, get down to the Stack and get on it with the Red Radio and Dave Roberts. So, getting into the league table, guys, it's looking rather... I'm sort of enjoying looking at it at the moment. Middlesbrough now have a 14-point gap on Preston, who sits 7th. So, let's be honest, I know we don't want to talk about the playoffs, but you've got to take it into consideration. The playoffs now, for me, are an absolute, certainty. If we don't get automatic promotion, the gap's too big for teams to make that gap up on Middlesbrough. So the playoffs are a certainty if we don't get top 2. However, looking at the league table, Middlesbrough now sit top, 31 games, 61 points. Coventry 31 games, 59 points. Ipswich 30 games played, 54. Hull 31 games, 54. So at the minute, Middlesbrough have that 7-point cushion on Ipswich. Ipswich have the game in hand. Middlesbrough have the 2-point cushion on Coventry. Playing Coventry next. So we're going to go down to Coventry next Monday night, Simon. Would you make any changes to the Middlesbrough lineup for Coventry? Or if it's not broken, why try and fix it? Same again?
Absolutely same again. I had a couple of Coventry fans texting me last night who've been very confident all season, and they're bricking it on Monday. They fully expect us to go there and turn them over, to be honest. Their confidence is shot. They're not playing that fast-flowing football they were playing at the beginning of the season. So I think, like the Sheffield United game, they'll come out very strong. Lampard will get them going. We know they've got good players in the attacking third. They are stronger in centre midfield than Sheffield United for me if Radoni plays, absolutely. I think it'll be a really good test, I think what's different is I think a draw actually will be... I'd take a draw now. I think Bandy will say we're going to win because you guys are super confident. But actually, we're going there with a lot less pressure in a way, even though we're top. I think, we would have absolutely snapped their hands off for this position a month ago. It's pretty incredible we're going there in the lead. I think we all expected it to be a pivotal game, but to be going there with a 2-point gap, it's almost unthinkable from where we were 5 or 6 weeks ago. So I think it'll be a cracking game of football. Again, the fact it's on Sky, it's Monday night. I hate going and watching it in a pub. I'll be sat in my own room on my own, listening to the commentary and totally absorbing the game. But yeah, can't wait. Can't wait. It'll be a cracker.
Graham, Coventry away. Coventry now 5 wins from the last 15 games. So when they beat Middlesbrough 4-2 at the Riverside Stadium to go 10 points clear of Middlesbrough, since then 5 wins from the last 15 for Frank Lampard's team. I said before the Sheffield United game, and I'm going to say it again, and fans might say, "Oh, Dicko, don't say that. Shut up, you're talking. Don't say that. Don't curse." I said, if we beat Sheffield United and if we beat Coventry, we are promoted. And I'm sticking to that.
Bold shout. Long way to go. Long way. I'm a massive advocate of each game as it comes, because you just don't know what's around the corner regarding injuries, suspensions. You say every week, Dicko, you ask me, Bandy, the next 6 games, how many points do you think we're going to pick up? Too hard to tell, mate. Too hard to tell. But what I can tell you as a categorical fact is we will go to Coventry full of confidence, play exactly the same way, and we could blow them away yet again, like we did last night in that first half. It looks like the tactic to turn up, first 45, get at them, try and wipe the floor with them, and then see the game out, particularly in the dying embers, maybe the last 15, 10 minutes when we're out of steam. But I think we can go to Coventry and win. You asked me last week regarding going to Bramall Lane and Coventry, and I said we've got nothing to be fearful of. We've got to relish these opportunities. That's why we've been second all season. We've only been out the top 2 a couple of times, haven't we? What's the lowest we've fallen to? 3rd?
I think so, yeah.
So we've got a divine right to be there. We're proving that we deserve to be there because we've had that platform from the start with Edwards. I know we call him every name under the sun, but he built that platform. He built that defence for us to then enable us to go and play. And bringing in Kim Hellberg, dear me, I mean, the Swedish special one, he's just fine-tuned us into a Lamborghini. That's what we're looking like now. Fast, slick, rampant, cutting through teams. And I think we can do that at Coventry. Yes, they've got to be fearful of us rather than us going there and being fearful of them. We arguably were the better team at the Riverside, but they were just better for me on the evening in both boxes when it mattered. They caught us cold. They came at us like we could go to them. I think that'll be in mind. The way they set about us at the Riverside, they blew us away 2-0 down, wasn't it, inside 15 minutes. Yet we somehow had that resolve to change our game plan and get back at them and wrestle the game back from them. Albeit if Tommy bags that sitter, we'd probably go and win that game. So, yeah, it's all to play for. Go there with confidence. Be bold, be brash. Be the big boys, Let's get at them quite quickly from the off and put them aside because we're capable of it. I'm not talking out my backside here in terms of we can't do that. We can do that. We've proved it all season. So let's go to Coventry and beat them. And I think we will.
I think Melander's a big difference from that side that we played at Coventry. Thinking about how they battered us at corners, set plays. I think did we play Matt Target centre back that night?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's made a massive difference, I think, to our team since January. And I think really pivotal in that game in sense of where their strengths are.
Well, they're going to have Thomas Asante missing because he's suspended, and Ellis Sims, who does have a good record against Middlesbrough. You'd expect, Malanda or a Dale Fry to deal with him much better than we dealt with him at the Riverside in the 4-2. I'll come to you on this, Simon, because Graham doesn't like doing this. Next 3 games, because this is part of my philosophy of saying if we can go to Coventry and win, I think Middlesbrough are promoted. And the reason being, if we do, we'll have a 10-point gap on Ipswich, because Ipswich's next game is Wrexham in the FA Cup. So they're going to have 2 games in hand to catch up on with Middlesbrough, but we'll have a 10-point gap on them if we beat Coventry. So Middlesbrough's next 3, Coventry away, Oxford at home, and then Leicester at home. 2 teams really struggling. Coventry's next 3 games, obviously, Middlesbrough at home, but then they've got to go away to West Brom and then away to Sheffield United, back to back. So again, if we can beat Coventry, we're going into 2 winnable home games, they're going into 2 tricky away games. Ipswich, they've got Wrexham, as I've said, away in the FA Cup, followed by Wrexham away again in the league, followed by Watford, away again in the league. So that's the reason why I've said, if we can somehow, which, is a big ask, can beat Sheffield United and can beat Coventry, that's why I'm confident that Middlesbrough will get promoted if that happens.
Fair points, definitely. It'd be interesting to see how the being the leaders impacts on them, that position from going to second to the top. But I'm with you, and these were two such pivotal games, I think. Oxford at home will be really interesting. I'm good friends with their assistant manager, actually, and we were messaging at the weekend when they got a brilliant point against Coventry, and he said it was a proper backs to the wall, like they ended up with 10 men. And that's the way they will play. They will absolutely come to the Riverside and they will camp out at least 10 men. They'll know our strengths, they'll analyse us. It's going to be a very different game, almost replicating what happened over the festive period in a way. What was great about last night is it was a basketball game. They opened up. It was as a neutral, friends watching last night who aren't party to either side were like, what a bloody great game of football this is. It just really open, attacking. So that'll be the difference with the Oxford game. And will he have learned from some of those more tricky home games where teams do park the bus? But coming back to your question, Dicko, yeah, I think it's, I'm a bit game at a time, but I agree Monday's a big game and will set us on our way for those, hopefully, 6 points at home.
So we'll crack on to some fans' questions, my favourite part of the podcast, because we've had loads of questions and I want to try and get in as many as we can. And there's some really good ones for you to answer today, boys. So I'll start with you, Graham, from Aflac, who comes with, what is the best run of games you've seen ever by the Borough beside this run? And where does this run rank?
Oh, good question. God, have to get the encyclopedia out here and track back the decent runs.
Well, I've tried to help a little. I've tried to help a little bit, Graham, because that was a difficult question. So just to try,
I've got one in mind when we had Dimmy in goal and he went on that monumental clean sheet run under Aitor. That was pretty spectacular. But
yeah,
the quality of football I was watching then doesn't compare to the quality of football I'm watching now. So I think this run of 6 straight wins under Hellberg, I know it's current, I know it's easier to remember, but it's going to be tall order to beat the run that we're on now. Unbelievable, really. So I'm going to say this run, but yeah, go on. What was your thought?
I had a look. Obviously, Aitor Karanka, he went 10 games unbeaten with 6 wins and 4 draws.
Yeah, draws.
Which you mentioned was Dimmy's clean sheet.
Yeah, that's the
was
one.
a good one. I've got to give a little nod to my friend Rob Edwards, because he went 8 games at the start of the season unbeaten, which, is a huge help to what we're doing now. But the football, like you've said, Graham, wasn't the same quality as what we're watching
he just
at the
couldn't
moment.
quite fine-tune things up front, and I think Hellberg's looked at that immediately. He knew he had a safe defence. It was a case of how can we score goals as opposed to how can we stop leaking them. But credit to Edwards, we were leaking goals under Carrick, and he changed that.
Bear in mind, if we win Monday, I think we hit 64 points. Which is exactly the same. We've got the whole season. So I would have said that run under Edwards, from where we were at the end of last season, and the slight worry about was he the right choice of manager, a squad that wasn't full of confidence. I think, for me, that surpassed anybody's expectations, that run at the start of this season. I agree.
We're a point behind the 2 points per game formula, which gets you promoted from 31 games. Am I right? Yeah. We're 61 points, so 62. Yeah, we'll give or take a point. But yeah, we're well on track and we're looking good for it.
One more stat for you boys. Brian Robson, 1998-99 season in the Premier League. Middlesbrough went 12 games unbeaten under Brian Robson in the Premier League. So that'll take some beating. He probably gets forgetting about. I think within that run. I think within that run. I think within that run it was the 3-2 win away at Old Trafford when we beat Manchester United away 3-2. That was that part of the run, as far as I can remember. Barry Stimpson has come in with...
Happy birthday, Bazza.
Aye, he's, what's he now, 60 what?
74, isn't he?
Barry's coming with the most impressive thing for me, lads, is that 3 or 4 players were poor last night and we still bossed 75 minutes of the game.
I think he's been drinking too much on his birthday. Who was poor?
He doesn't mention who was poor, but I struggled to get 4 poor players from last night. I thought
I
Middlesbrough were
struggled to get
pretty
one.
solid as a side last night. So
I thought
Possibly
the only
Gilbert.
one that
Gilbert when it come
struggled,
on.
I thought Target struggled a little bit against their right wing. Not saying he had a bad game. I thought their right bombing fullback give him a bit of a tough time at start. But yeah, that's been really picking.
I think it took.
I thought, yeah,
I think it took Target about 15 minutes to work out what that right winger was going to do to him, and he went past him a couple of times, didn't he? But he didn't get much joy into the second half, so he did his homework on him. But yeah, but again, we're talking about standards, aren't we? If we're picking out a couple of little misdemeanors,
four's very harsh, Barry.
Four's very harsh.
Kevin Cross comes in, Graham. Kevin Cross, now lads, on cloud 9 still this morning after another Kim masterclass. Understandable, Riley had to come off given his lack of football in recent times. Who would your replacement have been, though? Would it have been Jeremy Sarmiento? Would it have been Alex Gilbert? But he says if everybody's fit for him, then he would have put on Leo Castledine. Well, obviously he couldn't last night, but I think Simon alluded to earlier on in the pod that he would have brought on Dale Fry. Graham, were you happy with Alex Gilbert coming on?
I was happy in the respect that whatever Hellberg does, it generally works out. So I wasn't too concerned, but he didn't get in the game. He was like I say, he was pedestrian. If you're going to go that way, then you've got to be tighter onto your man. There was gaping spaces, and they played through us at that particular time. I would have liked to have seen Jeremy Sarmiento come on just to give us that out ball, just to give us a bit of pace if we did manage to clear the ball and counter on them. So Sarmiento for me.
This people from last week's podcast will probably remember a question from Paul of Boro, who was questioning me, just reading out questions from me friends. Well, I said to Paul, if he sticks a proper question in, I would happily read it out for Paul as well. And he's put a great question in. This is probably better for Bandit to answer than Simon, which you'll realise why. So Paul says, hello, pal. Well, hello, Paul. He says, if you have to have one haircut for the rest of your life, would you choose Peck's horrible slicked side parting or Jeremy Sarmiento's curly weird haircut? Cheers.
Brilliant question. I've got to go for Sarmiento. I've just said that I'd bring him on as sub, so I'm going to bring him on because I like his haircut more than his ability, I reckon. So yeah, Sarmiento.
Keep the questions coming, Paul. Thanks for that.
I've got myself a little Hellberg here, look. Got my little skin fade.
I've got myself a Matt Clark. I should have grown a bit of a beard. Yeah.
Stuart Mooney's come in. I'll come to you with this one, Simon. Before tonight's game, I was thinking 10 wins from 16 takes Middlesbrough up. What do you think, Simon?
Gosh, I think 90 points takes it up. So what's that? 29 points from here. Yeah, maybe 10 wins. Might not need that this year. I don't. Yeah, I'm going to go 9 wins. I reckon just under 90 might do it. Yeah, I'll go 9 wins.
I think 90 points wins you the league. I think probably 87, 88 gets you second, gets you up. So I agree. Probably 9 from the last 15. Would it be? Yeah.
Yeah. 20.
I think we're more than capable of doing that. So Neil Baker, Graham, he comes in with said 2 games ago we needed to win 11. That's down to 2 already. Definitely have it in us to win another 9, but we looked so flimsy again at 2-0 up, same as West Brom. That's something we have to think about. Typical Boro, but promotion is on. So he's a little bit worried that once we go 2-0 up, we're kind of conceding goals.
I see his point, but I wouldn't say flimsy. I don't look at us thinking, wow, we're going to roll over here and get our bellies tickled like we have done in the past. I see us standing tall. We are under pressure. You got in a 2-horse race in any game, you're going to be under pressure at some point, and you're definitely going to be under pressure against the Chris Wilder side at a lively Bramall Lane, and that proved to be the case. But we weathered them storms, and we've done that quite consistently all season. Our goals against record is pretty impressive, and our goals for column is even more impressive. So I don't foresee too many issues. I mean, the toughest task would probably be possibly Birmingham away could be tricky. Coventry be a tough game. But we've got a run of games where you think...
Wrexham last day of the season. I'd like to think Middlesbrough are promoted
nice,
before we go there.
It'd be nice to go there and have a little party down in Wales.
Especially if they're about the place. go back to conceding. That stat, is it now 16 games where we've taken the lead and we've not even drawn a game?
Yeah. So
we
it
might
proves
feel a bit nervy and worried. The stats absolutely
it's proven the
that
theory
by saying we're amazing when we go in the lead. So
great point. So.
Yeah.
It's proven the theory correct that we set out to blow teams away and then protect what we have. And 9 times out of 10, when we do set out to blow teams away, we do build up an unassailable lead.
It was the same sort of philosophy, Graham. You made a good point there. It's the same sort of philosophy, though, even though we're not as good on the eye to watch, as Aitor Karanka's Middlesbrough side, because he was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Would get at teams, would get about them, would blow teams away early doors and get the lead 1 or 2-0 up. Then Aitor Karanka would just go, well, that's it, game over, and would shut up shop, and it'd become a little bit of a tedious watch at times. But not very often did we actually lose those games. We're generally seeing them out.
Spot on. Si will definitely agree here because he's watched a lot of games with me in Harrogate with friends who are actually Leeds United supporters. We play exactly like Bielsa. I spoke about Bielsa 6, 7, 8 weeks ago on this pod regarding his philosophy and the way he wants to play. You can see the symmetry, the parallels are absolutely identical with Hellberg's system and his formula. And we do set out to blow teams away. Inevitably, your team will tire. Leeds often conceded some weak goals in the dying embers of games, which turned wins into draws. We are doing enough to protect the win, and that is why I think we are capable of staying in the top 2. Whether we finish top, second, I don't really care. I just want to build up an unassailable amount of points where Hull or Ipswich cannot conceivably catch us. That's where we're at now, and we're more than capable. So it is in our hands.
Simon, Graham's just mentioned there, I don't really care, if we come first or second.
No.
I'm not really bothered as long as we get up. And I totally get that. And from my point of view, being, nearly a 50-year-old fella, I've seen it, I've been there. I've seen Middlesbrough win the League Cup. I've seen we play in Europe. I've seen we win the Championship back, in 94, 95. Seen we get promotion before, coming second and stuff like that. I think for the new generation of Middlesbrough fans, fans who've only supported Middlesbrough over the last sort of 20 years, or 15 years, I think it would be a great, great thing for Middlesbrough to actually win the league and lift that championship trophy. Because, it would be nice for the younger generation of supporters, who can't remember Middlesbrough winning the League Cup, to actually see Middlesbrough win the league, lift that trophy. And I would love Middlesbrough, and if Steve Gibson's watching, have a parade if we win it. Get that cup through the town centre. I think it would be great for Middlesbrough as a town in an area to have that little bit extra boost, because when we got promotion under Aitor 10 years ago, whatever it was, and we come second to Burnley, we didn't have the parade because we come second. But I think to actually win it, and our first trophy that we could possibly win since, way back in 2004, I think it would be worth Middlesbrough, making a big deal about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think if you ask my little boy's just getting into his football, and this morning he woke up, he said, how do we get on, Daddy? And are we top of the league? And that being top of the league meant the world to him as he bounced off to school this morning. So yeah, the kids definitely, the difference between first and second, particularly in the generation of watching YouTube videos and all sorts, winning means a lot to them. So I get that. I think, yeah, the Brighton game was brilliant, wasn't it? I remember that so fondly, and we got promoted, and the hysteria of going up and the way we did it. But yeah, it would be nice. I'm with Bandy though. I'm not really bothered that much personally. I just want to go up. Yeah.
I'm sort of torn now. Dicko's gone down the sentimental route, and I'm falling for him. I'm thinking back. I want my son to experience a Boro player with a trophy. Actually, my lad Harry, who's obsessed with Boro since he's 20 now, and I took him since he was 4. So he's not seen it. He's seen one promotion. That's it. I remember Robson walking around as a player manager with that trophy with Nigel Pearson, and it was fantastic at Erson Park, packed Holgate End, receiving the raptures from it was great. So yeah, that would be nice, but let's take each game as it comes.
Yeah, let's not get carried away.
It's a beautiful looking trophy, by the way, as well, isn't it? It's quite a traditional, old-fashioned trophy. It does look rather splendid.
But, well, as I say, we don't want to get clipped too early yet.
No. Let's not rule Coventry out. They will come again.
I'm going to say, We're
They're
right
having
in
a
Frank
massive
Lampard's
wobble,
team
but
talk
they
for
will
him at the
come
moment.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Frank's watching, to be honest. Sean has come in with brilliant results. Some of the football first half was top draw. I thought it really showed how important Riley McGree is. He was everywhere, and he's looking forward to watching the pod. So thanks for that, Sean. But he's right, wasn't he? Riley McGree is so important to this team.
Will-o'-the-wisp. We need him in the team. So good to have him back playing as regularly as he can now. Like I say, he's playing the hours. Hopefully he might start playing them extra minutes as well to see us over the line. But we're utilising him to perfection at the moment, and his contributions are top tier. You know, goal and an assist last night.
That
Brilliant.
first half yesterday,
Oh,
it was
God.
it just blew me away. We were so
Is it
good.
worth?
Yeah.
Is it worth just mentioning regarding goal of the season? Is it possible to update it? Because I've got a few now. It went from Whittaker's, from Bryn's long kick out. Then it went to Bergzorg's at West Brom away. Then it went to Hackney's banger against Norwich. And last night's goal is up there as well. So it's, how nice is it to talk about a lot of goal of the season contenders? I don't know what your thoughts are, lads. Which ones are your favourites?
Yeah, well, all of those are worthy goal of the seasons for me. But yeah, I'll stick with Hackney's for now. I enjoyed Kate.
I love last night. I thought last night's was class. It was that Merson picked up on it. He talked about footballers and players, and what he complimented Middlesbrough on is every pass was forward. It's great having 65% possession when it's sideways, but when that ball's going and it came from the centre back, bang, 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 bang. It was just, you could tell by Hellberg's reaction. It was a coach's dream watching that. It's the type of thing you see on the training pitch every day. I thought it was a brilliant team goal.
I think why Merson got so excited about it, I think he could picture himself in either of them positions, in terms, maybe not Ayling putting it forward, but certainly receiving it and flicking it around the corner, ticking it on his back foot like Riley did and playing it with his other foot, and also finishing similar to Merson as well. He used to hit balls low across keepers, and also he had that beautiful knack of being able to just loft it with any part of his foot. What a player. So yeah, so nice to hear him chatting so fondly about what a good team we are.
Little shout out for Riley McGree's emu as well. I'm quite getting into this emu celebration. I'm enjoying it. Good question from Jam. Jam's come in with that was one of my favourite ever away performances. We've had so many over the years. Well, I don't know if I've had so many, but we've had so many over the years. I'd like to know your top three, league only though. Have we got any favourite league away victories watching the Borough?
I remember,
go on,
and I wasn't at the game. I think it was the Karanka season when we won 1-0 away at Norwich to go top of the league. I think.
Own goal.
Yeah, but it was, and I remember it was just a total backs to the wall second half. I think I might have been in a pub with you watching it, Bandy, and people flying over pool tables and all sorts. But it was, I just remember it as just a proper Karanka performance. He went and scored a goal, and then it was like, and I thought at that point we were going to go up as champions, and we ended up in the playoffs, didn't we? But it was I remember that. My other game I remember, and it was for an individual performance, was Adama Traore Bolton away. It was probably one of the best individual performances I've seen from a player. He was absolutely unplayable. And then the third one for me, Brentford in the playoffs. I think you go into the playoffs nervy, and the first leg of the playoffs away, we were absolutely brilliant in that brilliant white kit. Love seeing us in white. So yeah, we can put the white kit myth to bed now after last night, Bandy.
Oh, we can. Good point. Good point. Yeah.
And we won away at Hull when we won as well.
I think I've
Graham,
got
any games that stand out?
Yeah, there's a couple of Man United ones actually. I won quite a few quid on one of them when we won 1-0, and Benito Carbone got the goal. He played a beautiful little ball into Boxic. What a class player he was. Linked up exquisitely, and then he just dinked it over the keeper. I can't remember who was in goal at the time. It could have been Bosnich or something. But that was McLaren just starting to turn the screw then. We found a formula to dig results out in that black and blue. Like the kit you got on there, Dicko. Yeah. It was like that one. So won 1-0, won a couple of quid, and then Man United again. It's got to be the 3-2 where Bernie had to get his backside out, because I knew when he said that, I thought he's in trouble here. And it obviously happens, which was brilliant. Brian Dean scoring. Dean Gordon smashed one in, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. Dino.
Miraculous result at the time, because they were on a ridiculous run as well. I think that was their only defeat for about 7 months. and it came at the request of the Boro boys. And then I think more recent, I'm going to go Hull this season, because that for me was, I thought, right, we are motoring here. I've never seen us play such slick football as good as that on a wet, greasy pitch. Every player contributed. And it was at that moment when I realised we've got a special manager in charge of us. So Hull, 4-1.
Did we have another 3-2 at Old Trafford? Sorry.
No, I was just
We
going to throw
did.
a couple
Janino got
yes.
a couple of headers. Yeah.
I was going to make that was on my list. The 3-2 with Steve McLaren, wasn't it? I remember the 3-0 away win at Spurs. Hamilton Rickard destroyed them.
Yes, good one.
Hamilton Rickard got a double. I will throw into the mix Michael Carrick, believe it or not, yes, at Sheffield United when we went away under pressure game, went away to Sheffield United and won 3-1. I'll throw that one in the mix. And possibly my favourite is Aito Karanka season when we went away again, big pressure game away to Brighton and absolutely destroyed them at the Amex and won 3-0. I think Kike scored that day.
Oh, I love Kike.
And that was a fantastic 3 points. Guys, we're more or less out of time, but I'm just going to read one more out because I thought it was a great point. This was from Chris Lane, who says, enjoy the ride. This could be a great 2.5 months. Enjoy it. Soak it in. Support the team. Be proud. Be loud. Not stupid. Love it. Live it. The ride can be better than the destination. Up the flipping borough.
He's right. I've always said that the championship onslaught, that the chase is better than the kill. You ask any Leeds fan that.
That's a great message there from Chris.
Brilliant message.
Brilliant.
Simon, thanks for coming on, mate. Pleasure having you back
as
on.
always, lads. Great way to break up the day. Thank you.
And people who are listening and watching, Simon will be back again for the next podcast against Coventry. So he's back again. Graham, thanks for coming on. Pleasure again.
Yeah, loved it. It's always nice to speak after an exhilarating win.
Yeah,
we're getting
Middlesbrough
used to it now.
Top of the league. 2
Dare I
points
say
clear.
we might have to change our podcast name next season.
I was going to have a bit of a word with Anthony Vickers to see if I can borrow his untypical Borough headline from Anthony Vickers, but no, we'll stick with the typical Borough. It's quite apt, I think. We'll not get too carried away yet. We're not up yet. Right, remember, Borough fans, don't see a typical Borough. Watch it, listen to it, and we'll be back again next Tuesday. Up the Borough.
Up the Borough.
Up the Borough.